Watch Hometree fall. It's the most beautiful tragedy in the Avatar movie. A living thing the size of a skyscraper, packed with people we spent 2 hours running to love, coming down in fire and ash while the score swells and Jake screams a warning that comes too late to matter. And the man about to lead the charge to avenge it, the man who 20 minutes from now rallies every clan on Pandora and flies into battle as their chosen one, he drew the plan that brought it down. Jake Sully didn't save the Na'vi from the attack on Hometree, he drew it. You know this movie. A broken Marine goes native, switches sides, and saves a peaceful people from the monsters he used to work for. That's the version that the marketing sold for 16 years. But the catastrophe Jake heroically reverses in the third act is the same catastrophe his own recon engineered in the second. He saved them from himself, and the film let his redemption quietly cover the cost. Now, to be clear, this isn't a Jake is actually the villain theory. I don't think Jake wanted Hometree to burn. The claim is simpler than that, and honestly it's worse. On the level of pure cause and effect, his intel is the murder weapon, and the hand on the pointer is his. Everything I'm about to show you lives inside the 2009 film, not the sequels or the comics or an interview. The first movie, the one you've probably seen 3 or 4 times, hands you the whole case right in front of you. So let's start with the line that does all the work.
I'm guessing this secondary ring? That's also load-bearing.
Remember that word, load-bearing. We're going to watch it come back as a missile. RDA Up Center, about an hour into the movie. Jake has lived with the Omaticaya for 3 months. He's hunted with them, flown his Ikron, mated with Neytiri. By every measure the film gives us, he's gone native. And he's standing in front of his old commander over a glowing wireframe of Hometree, walking a room full of soldiers through the inside of the place these people call home. Watch how he opens this conversation. Nobody orders him to plan an attack. He brings up that idea into the room himself.
You want to hit this thing? It's going to be complicated. Your scan doesn't show the internal structure.
If you want to hit this thing, that framing is Jake's. He's the one who turned Hometree into an engineering problem, and now he's solving it.
There's an outer row of columns. Real heavy duty. There's a secondary ring here and an inner ring. There's a core structure like a spiral. That's how they move up and down.
That's a building inspection handed to the demolition crew, and the screenplay confirms its authorship, not testimony. The stage direction for this exact moment reads like this. Jake is talking them through plans he's made of Hometree's inner structure. Yes, the plan he's made. He didn't stumble into this intel or repeat gossip. He sat down and drew up the schematics. And then Quaritch says this.
What else can you tell us about the structure?
And this is the line, the whole video in 8 words. Jake volunteers the kill point.
I'm guessing this secondary ring? That's also load-bearing.
Load-bearing means that part holds all the weight. Knock out a load-bearing ring and the whole thing comes down on top of everyone inside. Nobody asked him which part holds the weight, he just offered it. And the part that makes this more than coincidence is that this line is not even in the script. I pulled the shooting script for this exact scene. On the page, Jake lists the columns and the spiral. Quaritch says he'll need scans of the columns, and Jake answers, Roger that, and the scene ends. That's the whole exchange. No load-bearing, no what else can you tell us? Both the prompt and the answer were added for the film. Somewhere between the page and the screen, somebody decided Jake needed to be more useful to the men with the bombs. When a movie revises a hero, it usually softens him, but this one sharpened the knife. Now, hold that word and jump ahead about 1 hour. The gunships are over Hometree. The attack starts the way a crowd control operation starts. Gas first, then fire. Smoke and flame to drive people out. Nothing structural just yet. Nobody has said a word about columns. And in the middle of the chaos, Jake yells this.
We gotta move! He's gonna blow the columns!
So at that exact moment, there is no order on the table to bring the tree down. The attack so far has been gas and fire. And Jake jumps straight to the endgame. He's gonna blow the columns. 39 seconds later, Quaritch finally gives the order Jake already predicted.
Give me HE at the base of the west columns.
HE means high explosive at the base of the columns, the exact load-bearing structure Jake mapped. The loop closes. Jake draws the structure. Jake names the weak point. Quaritch fires high explosives at the weak point. The tree falls. 4 links, every one is a direct quote, and it shuts on itself. No footage required, no interpretation. But that warning is the part that gives me chills. How does Jake know? In a fog of gas and fire, how does he leap straight to blow the columns? He's not reading Quaritch's mind, he's recognizing his own plan coming back at him. That tactical language is Jake's vocabulary. The architect recognizes his own building coming down. Now you're probably going to say the obvious thing. We knew Jake was a spy, that's the plot. And you're right, you saw this scene, but spying is reporting, and this isn't reporting. He didn't tell them the Na'vi are spiritual or that the tree is sacred. He drew the load-bearing diagram and circled the part that makes it fall. There's a difference between telling your boss about the neighbors and handing your boss the blueprints with the support beams marked in red. And maybe you want to spread the blame. Grace built the Avatar program, Selfridge gave the order. Fine, hold all three of them guilty, I'm with you. But Grace never mapped the load-bearing ring. Selfridge couldn't have if he tried. This isn't about who else is dirty. It's about the one man whose specific contribution the movie quietly deletes from the record. So a map is just paper. To turn it into a murder weapon, somebody has to want it badly enough to pay for it. And somebody did. The only question left is the price. The price was his legs. Go back to the start of the movie, before Jake has ever laid eyes on Neytiri. Quaritch pulls him inside. Not a threat, but an offer.
Son, I take care of my own. You get me what I need, I'll see to it you get your legs back when you rotate home. Your real legs.
And Jake's answer comes with zero hesitation.
That sounds real good, sir.
Intel for legs. A paralyzed Marine is offered the one thing he wants more than anything on this earth, his body back, in exchange for selling out the Na'vi. He takes it on the spot. Now, you could call that coercion. A broke, disabled veteran leaned on by a powerful officer dangling the only path he has left to ever walk again. That's a system squeezing a man's own body for leverage, and that part is true. Jake was a working-class vet getting used by a corporate war machine that only valued him for what it could extract. But the duress argument snaps, and it snaps on the timing. Coercion needs a threat, and there's no threat in this movie. Quaritch never once threatens Jake. He offers a gift, and Jake knew from the start where the other road led. Selfridge laid it out for him plainly.
So just find me a carrot that'll get them to move. Otherwise, it's gonna have to be all stick.
You got 3 months. That's when the dozers get there.
Jake heard exactly what was coming for these people and said, I'm on it, and went looking for their structure anyway. The load-bearing briefing doesn't happen on day one, when Jake's a scared rookie who doesn't know any better. It happens months in, after Neytiri, after the Ikran, after the film has spent its entire middle telling us he's become one of the people. By then, he's not a cornered soldier, he's a man with a whole second family who chooses freely to keep filing operational intel. He had Grace's outpost, the floating mountains, a clear path to walk away, but he drew the map instead. Both things are true at once. The system used him, and he still drew the map. Having a way out and not taking it makes him more responsible, not less. And we know the deal is still live because the movie shows us Quaritch cashing it in. Late in the film, he tells Jake the spying's done, the intel's banked. Listen to how he describes what Jake gave him.
You give me good, usable intel. Oh, this Tree of Souls place. Yeah, I got them by the balls with that. When this turns into a shit fight, which it will.
He's gloating. The Tree of Souls is the most sacred site the Na'vi have, and they're direct line to their goddess. And Jake's scouting handed it right over. Hold on to that, because at the end of this video, you're going to watch the movie break its own rules just to make you forget Jake was the one who handed over that grip. Then, Quaritch names the payment.
By the way, you're gonna get your legs back. I'm a man of my word.
Watch Jake's face through this whole scene. For half a second, he looks pleased. The legs, he's actually gonna get the legs. Then the cost of it hits him, and his head drops. The screenplay says it plainly. Jake feels hollow inside, knowing what he's done. He knows. He feels the full weight of it, and many people have this backwards. That guilt isn't his defense, it's the prosecution's best evidence. A man who didn't understand what his intel would do at least plead ignorance. Jake can't. The hollow feeling proves the knowledge. It doesn't excuse the act. So what does he do with all that guilt? By now, Jake's gone quiet. Quaritch opens this very scene complaining about it. Jake had stopped feeding them information. He's a man that's already halfway out the door, and the scene hands him 2 clean exits in one conversation. Stay silent or just go, since Quaritch is offering him the shuttle home that very night with the legs waiting on it. Everything he came for on a plate. Jake takes neither exit. Then he takes the most sacred ceremony in this culture, the ritual that's supposed to make him one of the people, and repurposes it as a tool. He feels the weight and he keeps going anyway. The guilt doesn't turn him around, it just sits in his chest while he plans the next move. So how does a man who commits this out loud in plain dialogue walk an entire audience out of the theater convinced he's the hero? The movie has one defense left to offer on his behalf, and it's a good one. This is the part of the movie that makes Jake look like a hero, and it's the single best argument against everything I've shown you so far. So let's give it the full weight it deserves. When Jake learns the attack is coming, he doesn't hide. He doesn't grab the shuttle. He buys them time first, begging Quaritch. Then he goes back into his avatar, stands in front of the entire clan, and confesses, in their own language, knowing it could cost him Neytiri, the deal, and maybe even his life. TV Tropes flags this scene as exceptional, and they're right to. Most liar reveal characters get cornered into the truth, but Jake wasn't caught. He turned himself in the second he learned innocent people would die, and that is courage. I'm not going to pretend that it isn't. But a warning doesn't unwrite a blueprint. If you've been waiting for me to admit that Jake has a good moment, that was it, and it still doesn't hold up. By the time Jake opens his mouth, the map has been in Quaritch's hand for weeks, and the targeting is already locked. Saying please leave doesn't delete the load-bearing diagram he drew. And look at what the warning actually accomplishes. Nothing. Nobody evacuates in time. Neytiri's father dies. Hometree falls anyway. You cannot warn a weapon back into non-existence. Then there's the second defense. Maybe Jake genuinely believed in the peaceful path, and the scouting was just contingency planning. The whole stated mission was relocation, after all. Except Jake's own words bury that idea. In a video log, talking to himself with no reason on earth to lie, he lays it out.
There's nothing that we have that they want. They're never gonna leave Hometree.
He knew relocation was impossible. He recorded it himself. His narration even spells out the company's whole cynical machine.
When people are sitting on shit that you want, you make them your enemy. So then you're justified in taking it.
So he's under no illusion that a peaceful move was ever on the table. And the detail that ends the diplomacy argument for good, you don't need to know which ring is load-bearing in order to relocate someone. You don't need to know the spiral core to write a moving contract. That information has exactly one use. You don't survey a building's support structure to help the tenants move out, you survey it to bring it down. And there's one more objection worth meeting head on because it'll be sitting in the comments before this video ends. Quaritch was always going to flatten Hometree, with or without Jake. And you know what? That's probably true. But there's a real difference between a siege and a surgical strike. Without the map, the RDA bombs a tree it doesn't understand and hopes the thing comes down. But with it, they put high explosives at the one ring that drops the whole structure on the first volley. Neytiri's father doesn't die in a generic bombardment. He dies because the columns Jake flagged come down exactly the way Jake flagged them. Jake didn't decide that Hometree would fall, but he did decide how fast and how cleanly. Now, did Jake hand over the Tree of Souls the same clean way he handed over the columns? The columns chain is airtight, line for line. The Tree of Souls is a little softer. We see Quaritch harvesting Jake's logs. We hear Quaritch credit the intel to him, but the film doesn't stage that exact handoff the way it stages the briefing. So I'll level with you. The columns are the proof, and the Tree of Souls is the pattern. Either way, the map is the murder weapon, and the film hands down its own verdict through the one person withstanding to deliver it. That's not a misunderstanding the movie wants you to correct later. In that moment, the film agrees with her. A warning that arrives after the blueprint is just a warning, and the woman who loves him is the one who says so. So if all of this is sitting right there in Jake's own voice, why does almost no one walk out of Avatar thinking Jake helped destroy Hometree? The movie made sure you wouldn't see the laundering, and once you see how it's done, the whole third act hits harder. Let's start with the biggest tell. The film never connects the two scenes. When Quaritch calls for high explosives at the columns, there's no cutback to Jake's hologram, no flashback to the briefing, or a character pointing at the burning tree saying, hey, that's the spot Jake gave us. I went looking across the script, the subtitles, every character's complete dialogue. There's not a single line anywhere in the film connecting Jake's load-bearing briefing to that targeting order. The movie shows you the chain but refuses to draw that link, and it makes sure you're too busy crying to draw it yourself. You're watching a tree full of people you love come down. Nobody's connecting that back to a subtle hologram briefing from an hour ago. And the omission comes off as a design choice because the film came within an inch of paying it off and then pulled back. Watch the edge of the briefing scene. There's a witness on the stairs, Max, hanging back, watching Jake talk fast and low to Quaritch, close enough to read that something is badly wrong, but barely close enough to hear the words. A character perfectly placed to stand up later and say what he saw. The film plants him there, lets the suspicion register on his face, and then never lets it come forward in the third act. The one man positioned to connect Jake to the attack notices something, and the thread goes nowhere. When a movie sets a witness on the exact crime and then quietly walks him out of the building, somebody made that call. That's the first trick. The second one is a bit sharper. When Jake gets exposed, the movie picks the wrong crime on purpose. Run down the whole tribe's verdict and notice what's missing. Every accusation is about deception. You lied, you were a spy, you knew. Not one person anywhere in this film ever says, your map killed our home. They wouldn't know anyway, but the point is the film foregrounds the betrayal of the heart so you never go looking for the betrayal of the blueprint. And think about who does connect Jake to the attack. Exactly one character, the villain.
I'd say we understand him just fine, thanks to Jake here.
The only acknowledgement that Jake's recon mattered at all comes from the man who used it to kill them. The film hands the accusation to the one character it spent 2 hours teaching you to ignore. Then it paints over the ledger with a redemption arc. Jake names his own sin, but notice how vague he keeps it.
Outcast, betrayer, alien.
3 abstract nouns, no map, and how does he answer for it? Not with a confession, but with a stunt. He tames the great Leonopteryx, becomes Torok Makto, the prophesied leader, and rallies the clans behind him. He buys his standing back with a legendary feat instead of an honest accounting. Listen to the rally speech, the exact moment he becomes fully heroic again in the eyes of the people whose home he flattened.
And we will show the Sky people
So to them what you do, I win.
that they cannot take whatever they want,
Soon for MCV.
and that this is our land.
Pure fire. Zero acknowledgement that the home they're avenging came down off his diagram. The grander the gesture, the fewer questions anyone asks about the receipt. And then the movie pulls its boldest move. It brings in God to sign the pardon. Earlier, when Jake begs the goddess for help, Neytiri shuts him down with the actual theology of her people.
Our great mother does not take sides, Jake. She protects only the balance of life.
Iowa does not take sides. That's the established rule. Right up until the final battle, when the wildlife of the entire planet charges in to save Jake's army, and a stunned Neytiri cries out.
Jake, Iowa has heard you.
The goddess that does not take sides just took Jake's side. The movie broke its own theology to hand him a cosmic stamp of approval, and that's not a refutation of this theory, that is the theory. The laundering on screen in real time. When the planet's own deity shows up to vouch for you, who in the audience is still thinking about a hologram from an hour ago? So here's the real point, and it's not the one you're bracing for. I'm not telling you that you missed the scene. You saw it. You've probably seen it more than once. The point is, most of you saw it and never held it against him, and that was never your fault. The movie put the crime a long way from the consequence, kept it at a distance, aimed every accusation at the lie instead of the map, and crowned him a hero with a goddess on hand to bless him. I can't really tell you whether Cameron did that on purpose or not. Maybe he engineered the whole cover-up. Maybe the edit just landed that way and the structure laundered Jake all on its own. The movie doesn't tell us, so drop your take on this one in the comments. I want to know whether you think it was deliberate. But intent or not, the machine is the machine, and it changes what the entire movie is about. So change who Jake Sully is and see what falls over. He's not a savior who wandered in from outside to rescue a doomed people. He is a man frantically reversing his own mistake and getting crowned for the reversal. And it doesn't stop when the credits roll, because Avatar didn't stop. Jake is still out there, 3 films deep with 2 more on Disney's schedule, everyone resting on the same foundation. Jake, the chosen one, the leader the Na'vi follow into every fight that comes. Every clan that bows to him is honoring a man whose first real act among these people was drawing the line where the bombs should fall. And the only two people who ever know the whole truth are him and a dead colonel. The tell that this wound is real lives outside the movie entirely. In 2021, 12 years later, a licensed Avatar comic finally sat Jake down with the Moat to deal with the guilt the film skipped, and resolved it by having her tell him that Toruk Makto was Iwa's will. The franchise itself had to drive all the way back to this spot to patch a hole the original left open. You don't write that scene unless the books were never balanced. So the next time you put on Avatar, watch it twice at once. The movie it's selling you, the outsider who switches sides and beats the bad guys, and underneath it, the other one, a disabled man, trades the location of a people's beating heart for a working pair of legs, draws the plans that bring their home down on top of them, and gets remembered as the one who saved them. Same footage, but two completely different films. He's pointing at a model of a tree, calmly telling a soldier where it's weak. That's the shot the movie wants you to forget. Not a hero explaining a home, but the architect at the drafting table, with the building already condemned. He got paid for it in legs, and the movie turned around and paid him a second time in worship. And thank you so much for watching. Subscribe and tell me in the comments whether you think I've been breathing Pandoran air a little bit too long. And here's the thing, the algorithm doesn't take sides, but it just took yours, and YouTube really thinks you'll like this theory, so go check it out.